So hello and welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video regarding Assetto Corsa Competizione. In today's video we're going to be doing a little bit of a different one really. It's all to do with wheel connection issues. There's numerous problems with Assetto Corsa Competizione when it comes to connecting a wheel, and there's numerous people that have emailed me or left messages on the YouTube channel or in the Facebook groups really asking, you know, my wheel's not connecting, or I can't get it to feel right, or there's just issues with the wheels. So we're going to have a look at how I've got my Xbox set up, how I go through connecting everything, and just looking at a few of the menus within the games and also on my Fanatec wheel. So I'm going to reposition the camera because it's very hard to capture footage and have a look around the rig from where we're sat. So I'll just move things around as we look at them. So just looking at the back of my rig now, you can see that I've got this cable that comes out of the wheelbase itself, and it runs all the way down and along through the aluminium tubing, and that goes to my stick shift. And then I've got this other cable that comes up and out, and it runs down through my tubing and comes down to my pedals. So everything runs through the wheelbase itself. There's nothing separate that plugs into the Xbox. Everything plugs into the base, and then there's just one big cable that comes out of there, and that goes to the back of the Xbox itself. So it's just one cable that's going into the back of the Xbox when it's coming out of your Fanatec gear or out of your wheel, whichever wheel you're using. I just thought I'd film a little bit on my pedals as well. Numerous people asking how I've got my pedals set up. That's how tight I've got my brake pedal, and I've got the damper, I think it's set on 1. It's literally as low as it goes, the damper setting. And I think I'm using the green and the red PU springs or rubbers. Another thing with how I set up my wheel, I'm using a wired controller because all the sound I want coming through the headset, which is a very old headset. I think it's back from when I first got the Xbox. It was the first Turtle Beach set that was available. But they're still working, so I'm still going to keep using them. But I use a wired headset or a wired controller to feed through, because if you're not using a Bluetooth headset and you're wanting to use a headset, it's just going to keep switching off when you're using a wheel. So always make sure that the headset is wired. But yeah, let's have a look at how everything's connected. So when we come to turn everything on, I'm just going to turn my wheel on, and you'll see that just fire up and do its starting sequence. I'll just let you see what software I'm running, because I don't think it is the most up to date, but it's the one that I find best, 639. And you can see that automatically fires up the Xbox, and again on comes the screen and everything. You'll see there the last game I was playing, ACC. So I'll just go through the wheel settings. Sensitivity, I have this set to whatever car I'm driving, so you can see I was just using the Porsche last. Force feedback I've got on 140. Shock I've got off. ABS I've got set to 60, and this depends on what you're using on your own set of pedals really. Vibration, drift mode I've got set to -1. Brake effects I've got set to 10. Again, this depends on how heavy you want to be depressing your pedal. I've got quite a stiff pedal. EFF int I've got set to 10, which is generally just the effects within the game itself, how much curbs and stuff you're going to feel and whether the rain's going to make a massive effect. And the MPS I've got set to constant. I never really know what that does. So that's all the settings on the wheel. So when you're launching and you're trying to connect a wheel to ACC, there's a number of issues that seem to pop up where the wheel doesn't seem to be connected. And it's very weird to see that that light is actually flashing, but it's a solid white light for me. I can't actually see that that light is flashing on my wheel, which is very strange to see. It must be a strange hertz. But anyway, coming back to the game, once you've connected your wheel to your Xbox, I'd suggest doing a full reset so that it sort of connects everything. So what you want to do here is just hold, you see the on-off switch, I'm just going to hold it down for like 7 seconds, 10 seconds, something like that. You'll hear everything switch off and then let go of it again. You can see my wheel's still on, so turn that off. You can see everything's just powering down now. So we're just doing a full reboot altogether. So we're going to turn it on at the console itself. You can see it's not firing up my controller or anything. It's firing up the screen, and we get a full Xbox reset. And you need to do this in order for it to register all the peripherals that you've got plugged into the back of your Xbox. And generally this is what causes the problems when people connect their wheel and it doesn't register within the game. It's not done a full check of everything. So now I'm going to power up my wheel and let that run through its cycle. I'm going to power up the controller as well, so I'm just going to turn that on and that will connect, so all the sound will then be coming through my headset. And then I'm just going to move around the screen here once I've selected that, and you can see my wheels functioning perfectly. I'm just going to move the camera and just reposition it. So just sitting myself down at the Xbox itself, and you can see that I can move around the screen. Now when we come into the Assetto Corsa game section, I think this is like the 2 squares button, which I press on my wheel, and you can see you can manage the game, and usually there'll be a section within here that says quit game, and you want to make sure when you're going through this for the first time, if that option is available, make sure that you quit the game and you're launching it completely from the wheel. So I'm just going to press the button and launch the game itself. Obviously you can see in the top we've got 120 frames per second, and that's going to drop down now to 60 frames per second because the game's not yet compatible with 120 frames. But as you can see there, just popping up 60 in the top corner, and it does launch pretty fast. Obviously, I mean, I can hear that through my headset. If I just plug in, so yeah, if I just start recording there, we can see that the game has launched nicely. And we've got functionality of the wheel. It isn't actually functioning. So we're going to come back to this one, and I'm going to select to quit. And we're going to try launching that again. In fact, let's come back to the main menu. This is perfect because this is generally how it should be. So manage games there. You can see you can quit the game. So I'm going to launch it again using the wheel, and hopefully we'll get the wheel working properly. This is good that it's worked out like this, because my wheel wasn't functioning then. We can get everything right this time. Maybe it was just because I connected my capture device. So we can start that and we start the game. So that works perfectly from my wheel, and you can see I'm moving around nicely. Now I've always thought that once you see this green light down here and it says connected, that is that the wheel is connected, but it could be that it's connected online. But I've always thought that once the wheel is disconnected, this will say disconnected down here and you'll have a yellow light. So we'll just launch into this test session that I was doing yesterday. Just trying to set up the Porsche, which will be available probably in my next video. I thought I would just do a setup for the Porsche at Bathurst, my favourite circuit, as we all know. So I'll just come to this setup. I'll just load that just for argument's sake. But you can see I'm moving around the menus perfectly using my wheel. Generally I won't touch the controller at all. So we're coming to drive. I can see I've got throttle pedal. I can press the brake and I've got brake, and I can change gear and we're steering. So that's perfect, but that might not be the case for you. That you might still not be registering the wheel. So we need to come into options here and come to the controls menu, and you might very well have the controller selected. Well, when you start the game or whenever you're using any of the setups within this game, it's very annoying, to be honest. But you want to select the steering wheel as your peripheral of choice, and you want to come down and across, because the right and left bumpers will be assigned to actually looking left and right. So you'll need to select shift up and then select what you want to use, and then it'll register on the right hand side. And again, with anything else that you want to use, generally I'll not assign any of these other things, and I'll use them when I'm using the MFD, which brings up on the right hand side of the screen. But things that I will assign is cycling, the camera. I do want to look left and right, which I'll use my little D-pad down here. I'm not really bothered about looking backwards. Generally I'll use the rear view mirror or my side mirrors, or generally just using the internal rear view mirror. And I'll always cycle the MFD HUD. It's something that you'll want on this left hand side all the time, really, and you can do a lot of the things just using that one menu. Sometimes I'll assign buttons if I want to come off a corner and drop down the traction control, and I'll assign those depending on which car I'm driving. But once you've done that, and as you can see, sorry, just going back, using the steering lock, I've got this set to 800 degrees. I don't know for some cars whether if you set the wheel to automatic and you just change this section, whether it changes, but I choose to just change the steering lock as I get in each different car. It's not a massive hardship just to press the button and just twizzle my little stick there, and it's easy enough to do. I don't see why it's such a drama for people to change from one car to the next. It's not like you're changing from car to car all the time in this game. Generally you're going to stick with one car for quite a long period of time, just get used to driving it. So as you can see, all the settings that I've got as well, these are what I'm using on my Fanatec wheel, and it feels absolutely perfect. But yeah, once you've gone through, it's very, see, I can't actually continue to come down here. I have to go up and across to this side of the screen, come down to the same sort of level, and then you can move across. It's very annoying. But I mean, I've saved my preset as wheel, but once you've got to this stage of the menu, you need to save it as a preset. So if you click on this section in the middle here and you select to save, name it what you're going to call it, and then come down, press the save button. So once you've pressed that save button, come back out of that menu using your back button, and then go back into the controls menu. And sometimes you'll see that everything's reverted back to what it once was. So then you'll need to select the steering wheel yet again, come down, come across, come down, come across, come down to your presets, come down to wheel, and you want to load the wheel. So once you've pressed load I'm not going to load it because mine's already loaded in, but once you've pressed load, and then you can come back out, you'll come back into the menu and everything should stay the same way that it was. So that should be it. One other thing that I would suggest is just adjusting your audio so that you're hearing more what the car's doing and less about other things that you don't particularly need to hear so much. So that's just one menu. You might want to pause it and just add those to your setup. Other things, general, not particular. General, yeah. Generally, when I'm racing against the AI, because they can be so annoying at times, I turn off my rating system so that I'm only getting affected when I'm in multiplayer online races. My ratings aren't affected when I'm racing against the AI. You could turn that on if you wanted to build your AI, but I suggest turning it off because it can be sometimes very annoying. Assists again, these are the things that will take a few things away from you really. Engine start and automatic wipers. If we come back to the game, you'll see here on the left hand side here, you can adjust everything. You can change the ABS, you can adjust the traction control, engine map, which is usually 8 for the Porsche. It's its fastest setting. But you'll see in the description of the video, there's also a link to some PDF documents that I created for all the engine maps for each car. There's also the steering ratios for each car, including the GT4s. And there's a few other PDFs in there that might be useful. But you can still change all these things. You can turn the wipers on and off. Or you usually could. Maybe that's one setting that I've not changed. So yeah, come back into the options menu and assists and change those to manual. Same with the pit limiter. I'd suggest having that on manual as well. And remember to set a button for your pit limiter. So come down to your options, controls, and just come into your key bindings. Maybe this is a button I've not set just yet because I've come back in. So yeah, pit stop, MDF. I think I'd usually have that as the A button coming into the pits. So yeah, I'm obviously recently changing to the Series X, and I've just not updated that. So coming back to drive, and so you can still, I don't know why it's not allowing me to turn my lights on and off. Not even allowing me to turn the wipers on and off. But I can turn the rain light on and off. So maybe that's just because it's not raining. Or maybe once again it's not saved it. So come down to the options, controls. Just double check whether it's assigned. No, it has kept it. Assists. And confirm that. Come back to the assists again. It has kept them there, so I don't know what happened there. So there you go. I can turn my lights on and off. So if you want to flash someone at the end of a race, you can turn them on and off like that. And obviously the wipers, you can turn that on and off. But these are the things that I'd suggest having as set to manual, and just adjust them in the MFD. Certainly a very useful section that I would generally have on the screen all the time. So yeah, I hope that's useful for you. I'd certainly suggest having yourself in this view as well if you use a wheel. Changing views, I don't particularly like that, and you've still got this input lag. I mean, I'm running a very high refresh rate monitor, and there's still a little bit of input lag there. Even if we switch to the other view, it's just off-putting, I think. So when you sit in this view, it's very much more realistic to how you're going to see it, and your wheel is going to vibrate if you sat still like that. So yeah, that's wheel connection issues. If you've got any questions, please do leave them in the comments. Please do remember to hit that subscribe button. It would be really nice to finally hit that 4K subscribers. But yeah, very much still enjoying the game and looking forward to the updates. I'm just going to have a look there, see if there's any. There are obviously still there some key bindings that do work. The escape button just pauses the menu. That's a good one to remember. The S key, that cuts the engine. It's definitely something you use in a pit stop. Might be worth looking at one of my videos I did regarding pits. I'm sure one of these actually changed view. I would actually be interested to see if coming into the menu we can assign any keys. No, so you still can't assign keys to the keyboard, which is annoying. Hopefully that'll come with the update. Just going through a number of keys here. So insert still brings up the MFD. And again, screen lock also brings up. And you can move up and down and adjust these using the cursor keys on the keyboard. So there are still a few keys that are assigned. But yeah, I guess that's it for the video. Please do like and subscribe, and until the next video, when I'll hopefully have this Porsche set up for Bathurst. I've been spending quite a while setting the car up here. Really did want to be able to hit the 201s in the Porsche at quite a high track temperature. As you can see there, running 37 Celsius track temperature. And I would like to see, even if I just scrape into the 201s or a very low 202, I know 201s are achievable, so I would like to get the car to that stage. But if I don't quite manage it, there'll be still a fairly good setup that should be competitive and a stable setup. But yeah, until next time, ciao for now.